Perfect. So, hello, and today is our last session. Let's get started. Yesterday, we already discussed changes, risks, tendencies for the realization of interdisciplinary formats and understood a little bit how to change these formats according to the situation with pandemic, for example. Yesterday, I also mentioned that for some formats, online format would be good. So I mean the formats like talks, workshops, or conferences. But there are also formats that cannot be properly presented online. For example, immersive shows, audiovisual installations, interactive installations, and so on. These two ways of realizing the projects also give the security in that case, should it come to another lockdown. And they are good in combination. These two forms give us, the combination of online and offline gives more flexibility, and when one form doesn't work, so the other form works. And given the current situation, all projects that can be implemented online should also stay online from my point of view. This saves time and money during implementation. For example, projects related to education or research or networking, so it can be easily held online. So you don't need to spend so much money to gather people together at one location, so it's not necessary. And for interdisciplinary projects aiming at developments, cooperation, sharing, presenting and products and installations and technologies, I think offline mode is preferable, so like the presentation offline. Today I will talk about our project, new project, Information Cube. Actually, as an example here, I used the Bangkok Information Cube, but actually any city can be presented as an information cube. First, I will share a little bit about the concept of this project, and then we will come also to management and modular system of the management of such kind of projects. So, this is like a city portrait, and it is an information cube. It is an interactive installation with use of artificial intelligence, and artistically we ask us a question: what is a city? What moves, scares, delights the whole city? Or what connects different people and generations, and how can be the whole thing visualized so that person who comes to the new city as a tourist, for example, or who lived here for many years, or who will live here probably in 1,000 years, can have the idea of this city, or can leave her or his own mark in the history. So now we are working already on this project, like work in progress, and this time the city or the country, doesn't matter what country or city, will be represented as an immersive digital cube. So it's like a message to the future or to the future generations. And for this purpose, various data about the city and its inhabitants will be collected and visualized through our computational code. So this immersive cube will have 4 sides. One of them is emotion blender, and it is the visualization of emotions of the citizens, so the common mood of the city. The other one is big data blender. In every city we will collect the data, the interesting data, I mean from the history, maybe some interesting facts from the culture and so on. Future blender, it is futuristic thoughts of the population, of the citizens on the city. And DNA blender, so this is the genetic data of the population of the city. Of course, it will be a game between psychoaesthetics and artificial intelligence, and actually the perfect idea is to do it as an installation, immersive installation, so 360 degrees installation with use of artificial intelligence and some AR elements. Yeah. So, and this is an artistic concept, but let's come to the realization of such kind of project. And we already discussed much about funding, about other things, but today I would like to share with you the non-commercial side of the realization of such projects, such kind of interactive or interdisciplinary projects. So let's talk about the ways. The main non-financial tools we should pay attention to are flexibility, in terms of the type of event, location, and duration of the event, right? So yesterday we have already talked about that we should be flexible, right? But today I would really talk about 3 main aspects: type of the event, location, and duration of the event. So let's come to the type of event. The interdisciplinary installation information cube can be used independently as well. It can be realized as part of a specific event, for example, right? If it is an independent presentation, it's good. So, I mean, then we can create an immersive cube. To this cube, we, for example, could also invite associated artists, musicians, and present their projects inside of this cube, because actually if the project is big or could be presented big, there are 4 different futuristic aspects, and every aspect has also scientific data. And for example, on this project we can collaborate with musicians, for example, right, with experimental music to make the project more deeper, and maybe the realization could be really as a huge festival. So I would like to say, in this case, the cube plays the role of a thematic hub, I would say, because of many aspects. And when it comes to a different type of event, so I don't know, like national or international festivals, art and science events, symposiums, etc., Then the modules like DNA Blender, Future Blender, Big Data Blender, and Emotion Blender can be also presented individually. So, because the cube actually consists of 4 modules, and I think in our time it's really good to develop the projects, the modular system. So, of course, if you have enough funding or enough people, team who support your project, it's okay to make a solo project, right? But it is also okay if your project can build other modules to be presented accordingly. And if each module could be an independent interactive installation, for example. Yeah. The other aspect is flexibility in terms of the location. Of course, there are a few types of location where the implementation of the cube project as an immersive show is possible. The location is also linked to a type of the event. And modular presentation as part of an event organized by a third party, of course, is also possible. So if the project is part of an event described above, so what I mentioned above, right? So national or international festival, art and science event, symposium, etc. Normally, in this case, the location is already given. So, and in this case, most likely, some modules are taken over and the content is presented in specific places. The presentation of the entire immersive interactive installation as a festival or independent presentation offers also 2 options of possible implementation. First of all, if we would like really to build up an immersive cube, we just need a big space with 4 walls, and we will just work with 4 or more projectors accordingly. Of course, there are ideal locations for the implementation of immersive projects, like immersive museums, such as Digital Art Center, Kunstkraftwerk in Leipzig, or Team Lab in Tokyo, for example. However, such locations is a big rarity. So, I mean, there are really only a few in the whole world. But if we are flexible in mind enough, we can also think of dome tents, for example. They are also immersively playable, so you can also light everything up from inside, from outside, so you can work with the dome tent, like with a canvas. You can do audiovisual performances from outside and inside, and it's pretty cool. So, the other thing, and the third thing, is the flexibility in terms of event duration. Of course, on event duration depends the budget of the project as well as marketing. And for example, the same applies also to the cube project. If the project is shown as a part of an event that is organized by a third party, the duration of the event and funding normally is determined by the third organization. But when it comes to an independent project presentation, so there are several options. Actually, for example, like weekend event that takes part not more than 3 days, for example, or the road show with well-organized technical aspects and marketing, for example, also this project, Information Cube Roadshow, should not last longer than 2 days in each location. And of course, such events like roadshows or something like this must be planned in advance. Of course, longer duration of the presentation is also thinkable. For example, in a museum, like a permanent installation, and the museum determines usually also the duration of the exhibition itself. But normally, if the museum takes your installation, you are really very lucky, because the museum also covers the costs of the installation, and you can, as artist or designer, you can also use it for yourself. So, for example, if it is a permanent installation, it can also have a deep learning effect and learn from the data, from the visitors' data, the visitors of the museum. Yeah, and in this case, more data could be collected. So, actually, that's it. Maybe, yeah, just to finish, pay attention on non-financial and financial tools during organizing the interdisciplinary projects. Non-financial is flexibility in terms of location and type of the event, but also the duration of the event, creating the modular system from the smallest module to the biggest module, and of course using the new technologies. But if you use the new technologies, use it in a proper way. I mean, use AI not to replace you, but to help you, like an artist, painter, for example, uses his or her canvas. And also, non-financial tools should be also shown in your financial plan, because the financial plan should be also modular accordingly, from the smallest module to the biggest one. The smallest is no costs or minimum costs, and the biggest one if you have everything. Yeah. So, okay, that's it for tonight, and I hope you have some questions, or the online audience. Hello.
Outside of your...
Sure, sure.
Okay.
It works.
So,
I can
yeah.
hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. Actually, I follow this workshop online several days ago, but due to the weather in Ho Chi Minh City, like last 2 days, so I cannot come, so I couldn't come here. But I follow your talk online, and thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
When I knew about this workshop, I'm in my mind. I imagined the collaboration and the integrated between science and art, because I'm interested, and I'm also a science writer. So I always want to find new ways to communicate science with non-science or popular audience.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any experience in like how to use art to communicate science, scientific information, for example? And I also recently I noticed in the beginning of November in Berlin, they organized one I think science week in Berlin, and I also followed that event, and I saw a lot of scientific people. They come and present their ideas on how to connect and how to use art to demonstrate and communicate scientific ideas. So I really want to know more about your experience in this aspect. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. This is very interesting question. Thank you very much. I also have an example of it. Of course, at this time we work much with science too, because it's something at the age, right? So of art and science, and combination of science, technology and art, and all the time it's about trying to find the new aesthetics and the new language to communicate science. And for example, one of the latest projects is a DNA blender, so you can see it here actually. There is one organization, so actually it's the University of Leipzig, and they have an institution inside of the university that makes the visualization of genetic data, like visualization of DNA. And if you can see here, these 4 squares are actually the visualization of data. And for scientists, it is like, you know, every square means something. For example, I don't know, green square is a woman who comes from Myanmar, who is 35 years old, who doesn't drink and has no illnesses, for example, and they can see it as scientists. Me, as artist, of course, I have no idea what is that. Yeah, and the professor who is there at that university, at our first discussion, he told us, you know, actually, the scientists are the train. So it is like, you know, they have their know-how, they drive the train, and but you know, there are also the passengers in this train, and these passengers are people to whom are these know-hows, right? So this public of them. So, and they would really, they want to do it accessible to this public. And the artists in this case are like, you know, like a train assistant who just do this communication between train and the public. And we understood that now, why do the scientists, for example, need us as artists? Because the visualization sometimes is it's just not accessible to public. So people cannot understand what is the know-how. For example, also in this case, if you just see the square, so you don't understand what is this and for what is it good. And for example, with this project, DNA Blender, we just thought, okay, actually this is the blender of Bangkok. And in Bangkok city, there are many different nationalities, not only Thai people, but also people from Myanmar, from Vietnam, Europeans, Americans. So many different people are living there because it's a big city, I guess like Ho Chi Minh, for example. And that's why we just thought, okay, we will take a traditional pattern. For example, the traditional pattern of Thai people, the traditional pattern of Burmese people, and if you are connected to this DNA blender, you can use this buttons, these squares as a button and click on some of them. So you will see the visualization of the data in artistic way. So I mean with these patterns, right? So traditional patterns. And you can understand how diverse the city is, how many nationalities, how many DNAs people are living together in one city, in one country. And yeah, so you can have the experience how healthy the people are, because you have just a map, of course, of this visualization and everything. So yes, actually, I think this scientific communication is very challenging process, and sometimes it's about storytelling. I guess what you do is storytelling, right? And on the other side, maybe to support the storytelling, some of the scientists use artists just to make the visualization of data visible, just to show how it really works, so people can understand how it works, for example. Or the same thing is also with emotions. What you can see above, this is like psychograms of the emotions of people in artistic way, of course. The people are connected with the technology, in this case facial expression recognition, and as output we get the summary metrics, the averages of the emotions of people, and they are visualized as an artwork in artistic way, right? But still I can see, for example, in this visualization, yellow is joy. So the person above had pretty, not so much joy, like 5% of joy, but the person there had like 20% of joy, because the picture is more yellow. And actually you have also the map of this visualization, and that's why it is pretty accurate. Yeah, so, and in this case we try to help the scientists, but it is also for us very, very challenging, because if you would like to do really accurate project, it's not easy, because you should create your own language of the visualization. For this language, you should create every letter, and for example, this visualization with emotions is more than 900 images that are that can be mixed endless, and that's why it's very challenging to do the visualization like this, for example. Yeah.
So I can see like I really like the metaphor, but and I also think it's not a metaphor. I mean, science speak is some very weird language, and even for me, I have the background in physics, but also it's very difficult to read. It's like some research papers, yeah, and to like we try to translate that, yeah, that knowledge, that kind of cold knowledge, and like and help the scientists speak, or translate their story into another language. And I also love your metaphor, like comparing scientists at the train and passenger. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
One more question I'm curious about. So if we can translate all of all of your hard work into skills. So for example, like for me, for example, I have a writing skill. I have a little bit the storytelling skill and interviewing skill, for example. So if scientists, they need to translate, to use art to translate their work into another language, an artistic language. So what skills do they need?
Actually, communication only. I mean, because Normally, it is like this. For example, we had this idea with that scientist from Leipzig University, and it was like, okay, we have this idea. Please come to visit us, come to our place with your visualizations. So he came, the professor came to us with his visualizations and explained us. Of course, we asked very stupid questions because we couldn't understand anything, right? And then, as we understood how deep it is and how interested it could be, for example, also for the whole city, not only for the individual, but for the whole city and other cities, and maybe for the whole world, we just started our brainstorming. How can we translate the language of data, of scientists, of numbers actually? How can we translate it into human language? Yeah, and then we thought, okay, it's still about people, it's still about DNAs, people. What do we have as people? Of course, our culture, our tradition. Visually, there are our patterns. So we tried to use it all, you know, but it is a long process. We had many sessions where we discussed, where we asked stupid questions, but then developed this language. It's challenging, of course, and that's why, for example, I think it would be much easier to communicate with you because you understand science, but you can also communicate. So you can also tell the story and we can visualize your story. So, I mean, you are already a translator. Yeah.
So in terms of communication skill, like we need to understand like who are our audience and what they already know, their background, their culture, and also some of their symbols. They have some thing in their mind already, and then we build a bridge, or to find similarities between the two. Yeah, but I also understand that through your experience, it's quite time consuming, a lot of sessions, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
normally it's there are a lot of sessions between, because normally we as artists, we are not so inside the science, you know, and maybe we also ask the questions that are coming not from scientists but from people around, because we in this case we are people around and we try to understand the project more detailed. Yeah, so it's about communication, it's about the sessions, and it's about the storytelling. Yeah, like, you know, as the kids at the school who try to, I don't know, to learn mathematics, there are many funny books so they can understand that 1 + 1 is 2, right? And yeah, I think the simplification and the communication is the way.
Thank you, Juliana. Yeah,
Thank you very much for coming.
So we don't have any more questions. So we will end the workshop here today. Many thanks for your participations here today, and also for audience online. And we hope to see you at another event for VFCD next year. Many thanks.